Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. This is Michael Voss, the Dragon of the Southern Tier, and I am happy to be here with you today on No Soundbites Allowed. We're going to have a great show today. There's a lot to talk about. I want to talk about impeachment. I will get to talking about impeachment a little bit later tonight. I want to talk about the breaking news that's going on at Binghamton University, where there is a protest. Progressives are trying to silence the voices of individuals, of other fellow college students, just because they don't agree with the views, with the voice, with the thoughts of other people. I will be most likely having someone on live to talk about the protests over at Binghamton University. And that's a big deal about free speech, First Amendment. But there's other things that I want to get to. And I do also want to talk about the shooting that's happening over in California, not too far from where I lived when I was in California myself. But I'll get to all of that a little bit later tonight. But right now, I want to talk about something that I think is also important, about accountability, about elected officials being accountable to the promises that they have made to the public, that when a member of any elected office, of any party, when they fail the public on the promises they were elected for, holding them accountable and just totally accountable and not giving them a pass just because the media likes them. That's something I think is very important. And I want to address that directly. And I hope you'll be here with me on this trip. So I'm going to get right into it. Now, many people may or may not be aware. In New York State, there is a monopoly. The cable industry, and that's providing out internet, movies, TV, all of that. That's handled by predominantly one company, Charter Communications, also known as Spectrum. And they had a merger with Time Warner back in 2016. That merger was approved of by New York State, by the New York Public Services Commission. Okay? And what those people are tasked with is making sure that things like the electricity, water, rate hikes, that's what they handle. And they approved this deal for Time Warner to take over, Charter or Spectrum to take over Time Warner, because Time Warner promised that they were going to help get more cable access, internet access to rural areas of the state and to keep prices down. That was the promise. That was the promise they made to New York State. That's the promise they made to consumers. That isn't what happened. Very famously and very directly, they did everything except that. They didn't go out into the rural communities and really develop that, make it easier for anyone. They didn't lower their rates. In fact, what they did is they raised their rates, which was a big deal. Obviously, lots of people were not happy about that. In fact, it was so bad that in 2018, we saw that there was a lot of discussion, and the New York State Public Service Commission revoked the deal. A deal that was made by Governor Cuomo through his proxies, which are the New York State Public Service Commission. They are appointed by the governor, so they are the voice of the governor through that commission, and the support of the entire Democratic Party, including Assemblyman, or then Assemblyman, Anthony Brindisi, supporting the governor 100%. So that's how the deal got in. That's how New York State and upstate New York got a monopoly, which is under Spectrum. And that monopoly did what every monopoly did. They took advantage and they raised their prices. Okay, we're all on the same page here. Okay, and you can double check this. This was in the New York Post. The article was New York State revokes approval of Charter Time Warner deal. That was in July of 2018. Jumping on the bandwagon of that news was then candidate Anthony Brindisi. And then candidate Anthony Brindisi was very upset. He went around and he asked people and asked them directly, and there he is, and he made his campaign ads for the Congress, the New York 22nd District, that you needed to elect him because since Spectrum had almost doubled their rates, if he was elected, he was going to put federal congressional pressure on them to lower the rates and to live up to the terms of their deal. That's his pitch. That was his pitch in 2018. And the image you're seeing is from his TV commercial saying that Spectrum was not living up to the terms of its deal and that they had to lower their rates and that he was going to put congressional pressure on Spectrum if he had gotten elected to help the people of the New York 22nd District and New York State in general. So, fine. We go forward, 2018, November, Anthony Brindisi is elected. He becomes the congressman-elect. And in December of 2018, Representative-elect Anthony Brindisi came out and he was talking about that if Spectrum, they can shape up or get out. That's exactly the quote from the Press and Sun, which was on December 19th of 2018. These are his words. This is what he was saying. Spectrum had to do better. They had to lower their rates. They had to get services out to rural communities, or else, when he took office in Congress, they were going to be in trouble. And of course, what did happen is that Spectrum, after many, many extensions, decided to make a deal with New York State. And again, Representative-elect Anthony Brindisi said this was a great first step, that this was going to lower the bills for the public, and that he was okay, except Spectrum had to keep going forward. They had to do more. And to be fair, Spectrum did not do more. They did not go forward. They continued to increase their rates. They continued to not help rural communities. So you have a candidate, and follow me here. I know this is going the long way around, but I want you to have the background. I want to have full context here. So what happened is a member of Congress, Anthony Brindisi, gets sworn in January, and his mission was his campaign promise to lower the rates of cable, to kill the monopoly of Spectrum in New York State, and to prevent that from happening anywhere else in the nation. He wanted to bring the full force of Congress against any cable company that would have a monopoly and not benefit the public. Okay, that's laudable. That's a laudable claim. And I went all the way through this to let you know that was a consistent campaign promise. That was the environment in 2018. That's what voters expected. That's what his constituents expected. That's what the people of the nation could expect. And to his word, essentially, Representative Anthony Brindisi came out with his first bill. And that first bill was H.R. 1555, the Transparency for Cable Consumers Act. And in that, he was looking to have cable companies be more transparent about their billing, lower their billing, to kind of kill the monopolies. I'm paraphrasing. And that bill, with the full power of a member of Congress, got a sum total of no action. And let me put it on the screen again. You can go to congress.gov, check it out for yourself. There is, since the bill was presented, exactly one member of Congress who is supporting this. One. 433 members of Congress could care less. That's including every member of New York State's Congress, the House of Representatives. Not one of the members of Congress, none of the Democrats from the state of New York and anywhere in the nation, except for one guy in New Jersey, could care what this bill is. That is called failure. That is called being incompetent at your job, that you cannot convince, out of 434 people, you can convince one person of what you think. I'm sorry, almost anyone can do more than that. And we're talking about Democrats. Democrats don't care. So in the face of the fact that you have a member of Congress who is completely ineffective at their job, and they come out with a bill, and it gets no support, what did Spectrum News do? They increased their rates again. They increased their rates again. And I have to blame Representative Anthony Brindisi on that because he failed. His bill is dead. When you have one member of Congress supporting it, it's dead. No one cares. When no one in New York State is willing to step behind this, it is dead. Spectrum has zero fear. They have nothing to worry about. It doesn't matter what. They were worried about federal intervention, about federal government regulations. They were worried about the effect on them nationally. And Representative Brindisi failed. Completely failed. So with that complete failure, what do you think a representative would do? Well, if you happen to be Representative Anthony Brindisi, you come out and you say that you're going to go back at it again, that you're not done, that you're going to make Spectrum, fear, that you're going to get a bill passed that's going to punish them. That's what he said on November 12th, according to the Rome Sentinel, where their article is Brindisi takes aim at Spectrum. And he followed that up with another article, which was reported by WBNG on November 14th, that, the quote, the title is, quote, "Fight like a dog," end quote. Brindisi warns Spectrum about new plan. Okay, so what that means is, in the eve of the 2020 election season for Congress, where Representative Anthony Brindisi is expected to look for re-election, he's going back to his campaign promise of 2018. He's going back in time and saying, I'm going to protect the constituents, the public, the nation from monopolies like Spectrum. I'm going to lower rates and get the cable companies to expand into rural areas. Excuse me, you've already said that. Representative Brindisi, you already made that promise. You already failed at that promise. You failed so badly that no one, not Democrats, not members of Congress in your own state, no one is paying attention. No one cares. Your bill proves it. So he's saying he's going to put out another bill. Who cares? That he's going to try and get his bill into some other bill. No one cares, because you can't get any support. No one is taking you seriously. When one person in Congress supports your bill, no one cares. No one's going to support your amendments because they don't support your bill. They don't support you. You have failed at your job. You are ineffective. So much so that Spectrum had no fear and decided to raise rates again. Just 9 months after they had agreed to lower their rates, they increased rates. That is how little impact a member of Congress saying that they are going to come after a private company, how little impact they have. I have to tell you, how is it that this person can run on failure? That is essentially what Anthony Brindisi is doing. He is running on failure. And he expects voters to support him. And I can tell you that in my experience, in having to deal with his supporters online, because I honestly wasn't going to talk about this very much, but then I got to talking to some of the supporters of Anthony Brindisi online. And I can tell you, they were less than pleasant to speak with. Going on to Anthony Brindisi's Facebook page, I said in there, your first bill is a failure. It has one supporter. No one in Congress cares. You exhibit zero influence. Now, as a re-election nears, you double down on the issue. Even as Spectrum has increased their rates, highlights your lack of effectiveness. Thus, based on your congressional record, we must ask why the latest media-driven push will be different. In fact, that is the question an objective media must ask on behalf of constituents. But will you answer that, Representative Brindisi, or will you have the political operatives shout to distract the question? And I'm sorry, I'm reading from another screen, and it's blocked in my vision by some of my equipment. So it sounded horrible as I was reading off my own words. And I can tell you, the answer to that is I had a lot of the political operatives of Anthony Brindisi, the supporters of Anthony Brindisi, shout at me about me personally. They had a problem with me personally saying, Mr. Brindisi, you failed. Why should we believe that you're going to do any better the second time round? Why should we believe you're going to be any more effective when no one in Congress is paying attention? No one cares what you are saying. So you can get political operatives, Representative Brindisi, to scream all day long. But the fact is, you failed on a campaign promise, and you're running on your reelection on the same campaign promise, and we have absolutely no reason to believe the effect is going to be any different. And that is so much the case that the very people you are targeting are laughing in your face by raising rates of the constituents, believing that they have no fear. There is nothing that you can do because you have done nothing. Now, I believe in holding anyone in elected office accountable. If Mr. Brindisi, this is his primary claim to fame, this was his promise for getting elected in 2018, and if he lived up to his word, he would have an argument about why he should be reelected. I would not dispute that. That is not the case. No one cares about what he did. He failed to do his job for his constituents. He failed to live up to his word. Now that he's coming out and saying, I'm not done. I'm going to fight more. I'm going to raise this bill. I'm going to go out there and I'm never going to stop talking about it. Who cares? You can talk until you're blue in the face. If it does nothing for the constituents, it's empty rhetoric. It's noise. It may get some people to reelect you, to put votes behind you, but that's not a reason to reelect you. You failed so badly that the people you're going after are taking advantage of you. That is not helping constituents. That's not helping anyone in America. I have to ask, how does failure equal reelection gold? How is it that being an abject failure, failing to live up to any aspect of your word, is somehow worthy of getting reelected to the same job? Name another job where you could go in and completely fail. If you're a cook and you completely fail at cooking a steak, you burn it when it's supposed to be medium rare, and you come out with a charcoal brick, would you keep your job? If you go into, if you're a doctor and you're supposed to be, I don't know, doing brain surgery, and you take out someone's appendix, do you think you're going to keep your job? Apply this mentality to any other job anywhere else other than in the government, and tell me how someone would keep their job for complete and absolute failure, getting the exact opposite result of what they promised they were going to do. Would you hire that person for your job? If you had an electrician that said he was going to rewire your, I don't know, your lamps, and he wound up shorting out all of the electric in your house, would you keep him? If you have a plumber who comes in to fix a leak and you wind up with a flood and worse pipes than you started off with, would you pay him? Would you ask him to come back? Would you say that this is a person who did their job? Name another job. If you go in to a mechanic because you need to change your tires and you come out and your engine dies because of the work that was done, are you going back to that same mechanic? Are you going to pay them again to do a job because you think they did their job well? No, because they failed. It is the exact opposite. How can we see a representative, Anthony Brindisi, in 2020 try and run, and he has an abject failure? And he's saying, no, don't worry. Let me do it again. Let me do it again. Because no one cares. And you know what? I'm going to keep going at it just because no one cares. And you should hire me again to fail again. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But perhaps I'm rambling at this point. Perhaps I'm saying the same thing over and over again because I want to make that emphasis. It makes no sense. And Representative Brindisi, it makes no sense. You do not deserve to get reelected to fail at the same job twice. I don't think so. But I would love to hear from Representative Anthony Brindisi, who has an open door policy on this program. We have been asking for him to come on for 3.5 years. I know you, Tony. I've known you for 7 years. Come on, get on the show. You have my phone number. We've talked before. Do it publicly. Let's get on and let's talk about some of the issues. I continue to ask him for that. I will be more than willing to do that live, and I will do it unedited as always. So come on to the show. With that said, I thank you for taking the time to hear me. I'm getting ready for my other programs with the impeachment, what's going on at Binghamton University and the shooting. I hope you'll be around. I'll talk to you all very soon.